G'day there, Great on the Ancient Miniature Man channel. In recent years, you might have noticed that some of the companies have put out speed paint metallics, or the equivalent, say, quick gen metallics. And I must say I've been a little bit skeptical and thinking, well, what is the point of these really when you've got so many other nice acrylic metal paints that are pretty easy to use and give great results. So I thought I'd better be fair and get a couple of them and give them a little test run. So basically I prepared a few miniatures. These are Victrix Gauls. We've got a lot of chainmail and some potential for gold on their torques and their helmets and their scabbards and sword blades and so, or handles. And so I thought we could do a pretty good test of each of these versus some of my more standard methods. So I particularly like the Vallejo metals, and tinny tin is a brilliant base that I use for most bronzy or goldy metals, and then usually just a bit of a dry brush of the gold over the top. And I have found that generally if you're really focusing on the metals, that starting with a black base coat can be, or priming can be, the best way to go. This is just a cheap auto store one, which is that glossy black. Preferably matte black would be better, but I guess if you're doing metals, then the glossy black makes sense. One other quick and simple solution, which may be an alternative to these speed paints or quick gen paints, is just to prime the whole bugger from the beginning with a silver priming spray paint. So again, a cheapo auto store one, cost about $6 Australian or so. I did give them a bit of black from underneath initially and then just over the top with the silver. And you know, already it looks pretty good. You could basically leave it like that and just go and paint the rest of the figure if you felt so inclined. I'll probably put a wash over it and then do that. We'll compare the three methods. So quick gen speed paint versus normal, say Vallejo metallic acrylics versus spray paint and a little bit of touch up. All right, back in a sec. Oh, nearly forgot. The silvers I'll be using will be the chainmail, also from Vallejo, and then they do make this Vallejo metallic medium, which is a very bright white silvery color, which I actually use just on its own for the highlighting of the silver, and that works quite nicely. So that'll be the regular acrylic version. Some other metals, I've got a fair selection of metals. I've got the Army Painter one that's okay, but I don't like it as much as the Vallejo. And then I've got the scale 75s, which do some nice metals. This is Victorian brass. That's certainly an excellent sort of substitute perhaps for the tinny tin if you didn't have that. But I do find the slightly darker tinny tin is a better undercoat, and then dry brushing with the gold seems to give me the best results. Okay, I'll get painting. All right, let's do some painting. So I've got the speed paint slash quick gen there, the regular acrylic metallics, and then the spray painted guy over here. So we'll start off with doing the chainmail of this fella, the first Gaul. And I'm going to do most of it on here, but I might just do some of the finer details off camera where I can get some serious magnification on the job. So you see the speed paint metallic one is quite liquidy, which is fairly nice to make the application of the metallic paint easy. Only thing is, when you've got a black undercoat, sometimes nicer to have a more viscous one so that you can put it on the surfaces without it going into all the cracks and you know, obscuring your shadows. So almost dry brushing can be a nice method to use, but we'll try this and give it a objective test. So I'm probably going to miss a few bits here, but so I'll touch it up in a bit under a better magnification, better painting position for myself. Make sure it's as good as we can get. So around the chainmail, I'll do the sword as well, blade. I'll do all the little fine details like the hilt and stuff in the gold. Okay, sword blade, bit of silver on there. can see this. It's all awkward painting on camera. Okay. Yep, that'll do for now. Let's put a bit of gold on him. Give it a serious wash off there. And then the AK Quick Gen Old Gold, that is. They do make one called Gold, which is slightly brighter. Actually, I couldn't get hold of that one, but I think this is a nicer colour anyway. It's a bit of a richer, deeper sort of colour. We're not going to need much tool for this because it's just the finer details we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to do his helmet and the hilt of the sword and part of the scabbard, I reckon. And this beautiful is a lovely colour and it's quite vibrant. It does have a kind of a darker, richer undercolour, which I guess is exactly what you're wanting out of a speed or a quick gen metallic. You want a couple of different tones to it. No point if it's all just the one colour. You might as well just use a normal acrylic. If that was the case, I can't see exactly where this is meant to go without serious goggles on, but that'll have to do for now. And as I say, I'll touch it up in a sec to make it perfect, and I don't think I'll be able to paint the torque at all on camera. I'm just guessing there. I'll go and do that, and these finer ornament bits on his front of his chest, can we do them? Looks like a rough estimate, but yeah, I'll tidy that up in a minute and bring that back. Okay, ram time. Regular acrylic metals. So let's go with the Vallejo Tinny Tin. Much loved tube, this one. There's not a lot left in there. I don't need very much. That's probably enough actually, because I'm going to dilute it a bit. Always dilute this a little bit just with some water. Make it quite runny, because I just want that as the background base colour for the gold or bronze it's going to come for later. So I'll do that on his helmet and on this amazing boar extension on top. So you see it's quite creamy. It's not as watery as the Quick Gen one. So you can water it down to have a dilute you want, and just find to have a bit better control with this one personally. Bit on the sword hilt there, there, there. Again, I'll just have to touch him up off camera where I can really see what I'm doing. I think there's a belt buckle there and I can't even see if he's got a torque underneath his helmet on the neck of the jacket. Not sure. Sort that out in a minute. Alright, and then let's get some silver colour on. So for that I'm going to be using the chainmail, again by Vallejo. Giving all these a good shake previous. Oh, there's plenty there. Okay, good. So again, a nice creamy kind of consistency to it. I might leave it that one as is because I don't want it sneaking into all the recesses on the chainmail. Alright. So it is a nice, very bright colour. Anyway, I shall go and just finish him off and I'll be right back. Right, now figure number 3, this is the easy one, the spray painted silver. So all I need to do really is a little bit of shading for him. So I really like the Army Painter quick shades for these sort of things. You could use the flesh one, which I tend to use for bronze. If you wanted to have a bit of a dirty look, you could use the strong tone or the dark tone if you wanted a bit darker, grim dark. I think I'll use the blue tone this time, and I'll use that on the other guys as well later on in the final stages. So I'll give that a good shake, and I'll just douse it all over all the metallic bits really. I might just dilute it a tiny bit. You can use it straight out of the pot, but I often just give a bit of water, less than 50-50, probably about 20% water, 80% the blue tone. It will look quite blue initially, but it'll calm itself down after a while. Actually, this is too dilute, I think. It goes on very easily. I'll put on the helmet up here. Actually, I might do the piggy in silver, in a goldy or bronzy colour later on. Think about that a bit more. Now, I should have actually just done it straight from the pot rather than any dilution. Trying to get it in all the chainmail recesses. That's the real purpose of this, to give that shading in there. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Bit on the scabbard. Okay, next step will be to highlight this guy. The speed paint / quick gen doesn't need any, which doesn't deserve any anyway. According to this system, it should just be a single coat, so that's what I'm really wanting to test, how well that stacks up with the other ones. Alright, I've skipped ahead a little bit here to the conclusion really. So these are the completed figures. So this is the regular acrylic method. I've done basically regular acrylics and then a number of washes over the chainmail because I wasn't happy with that, just to make it darker. But I've done the same with all the others to keep it as consistent as possible, and you'll see I've done a similar colour scheme for all of them as well. The leather and wood was done with the chestnut ink by Scale 75, which I'm getting very good results with recently on leather and wood. Just have to have a sort of a pale yellowy off, a light brown or yellow underneath, and then go over with that. That gives lovely results. So he is a very cool figure. Let's get the next one. So this is the one done with the speed paint and quick gen paint. I did go back and use, oh no, that's right, no, that was with the quick gen old gold for his helmet. He did also get some washes, the same as the first guy, and similar treatment for his leather and shoes. And he's come up very well. In fact, I think they're almost equivalent sort of quality. Let's get the third guy up and have a quick look at him. So he's the one that I just spray painted with the silver. And yet again, I think they're hard to distinguish in terms of quality between all three, really. So let's put them all up there side by side. I don't know if you've got any preference for which one you like the best, but I personally couldn't really choose between them. The question then is really, is there any advantage in using these quick gen or speed paint metallics? Because to get the good results, I did have to go back and do washes and so on over the top of them. So really they didn't speed up the process, and particularly compared to this guy where I just spray paint him silver. That was probably the quickest one, him second and this guy third, but only third by a matter of probably a few minutes in total painting time. So my hypothesis, to be honest, was that these quick and speed paint metallics are probably a total WAFTAM. However, I've come to the conclusion, against what I expected, that they're actually quite useful. But I think if you've already got a good range of metallic acrylic paints, I can't see much advantage in getting these, unless you're wanting to do hundreds of troops and you're really just going to do a single layer. But it's such a small extra effort to get such an improvement with some washes and so on. I just can't see why anyone would really want to do that. So in my opinion, I wouldn't certainly go buy any of them if you've already got a good range of existing acrylic metallics. If you don't, then that'd be a reasonable option, but I don't think they're any any superior to particularly the Vallejo metallics that I've shown. I will do the usual, a few still photos, and I'll put some shields on these guys just to show how they should look, and see what you reckon. I'm very interested to see what other people think. I'm totally aware this is a very subjective thing, and you might find that you much prefer the quick gen and speed paint metallics. But if you do, let me know, and let me know why, because I'd be very interested to hear it. All right, see you around.